So I wanted to do a quick update on my recent crashing issues that I'm having with Moho. If you've seen my previous video, I went on about certain things that are happening with Moho, like crashing, and certain things that you can do with Anime Studio that you can't do with Moho. Now in particular, I went over these two files here and I gave examples of what causes Moho 12 to crash. Now if you look at my desktop now in comparison to the other video, my desktop was clear, and these are all the files that I've had to basically use to go and try and backtrack and troubleshoot what was causing the crashes. And I think I've figured out what was causing the crashes in that particular rig and what I was doing, but I still can't figure out why what I'm doing is causing the crashes, if that makes sense. So I've managed to get a pretty stable version working on Moho, and it's slightly different from this one. And what I've had to do is I've had to go back, and every time I create a rig I save it intermittently, and I do a lot of save as's basically, and I have lots of different versions, and I went back to a version that didn't crash and I started working from there to try to figure out what was causing the crash in this particular rig. So with this one here, I'm just gonna this is the one that was causing the crashes. I'm just going to import this one. And what I've managed to figure out is, at some point when constructing this rig, something went wrong, and now it doesn't allow me to add any more actions past what I have here already. And by adding this action here, this is what's causing this smartphone action, is what's causing the crash. And if I go back to a previous version before I added this, that rig seems to work perfectly fine. So I'm not sure why this rig doesn't allow me to add actions. If I go in and try a normal action, or I try to add any more smart bones, it seems to crash. So for whatever reason, that is the problem. So I've had to go back now to use Anime Studio. Well, as you can see here, this one has crashed. And if I opened up this one, this is a version prior to me adding that bone, and this is the latest one I've created. And what I've had to do is basically go back to the beginning of the early stages of this rig and rebuild it again from scratch, saving as much as I can and trying to figure out what I'm doing, if anything, if it ever crashed. And don't get me wrong, the other day, I think, what was it, 2 days ago, I had a whole day of using Moho when I was doing this rig without it crashing. I think it crashed 2 times throughout the whole day, which was amazing in comparison where it crashed every time, like within 5 minutes it crashed 3 times. So I got to a point where this rig works fine, and I'm happy with it, but I'm not entirely, well, I am happy, but there are certain actions that I want to add. And for example, I'm going to open up this rig here, and this is one that I've created in Anime Studio. So I've imported these rigs that crash in Moho. I've just imported them into Anime Studio, and if I could find, what one is it? Is it this one? Okay, maybe it's this one. Yeah, so I've managed to go in and add all of these extra actions just to test to see whether maybe the rig has too much. Now this rig is pretty comprehensive because it is my template rig, so there is a lot of layers in there and a lot of stuff going on. So I thought maybe it was just overloading Moho, but it uses and it works finely on Anime Studio, so I can't get why there is an issue with Moho, because I get no crashes whatsoever using Anime Studio. So I have figured a quick workaround, and I'm gonna have to use Anime Studio to continue to do my my web series that I'm doing. Don't get me wrong, Moho works. If I start a new project, Moho works just fine. I get no crashes. It just seems to hate this particular rig for whatever reason. And yeah, so I'm going to revert back to Anime Studio for the time being while I complete, or up until they fix the software. I also want to take the opportunity to everybody that sent in their suggestions, everybody that emailed me, commented on the forums, left a message in the comment section below. Just want to say thank you. I do appreciate it. There were some guys, I think they worked with Micro, and there were some guys on the official Lost Marble forum who also sent me some good advice, and I did take it and I did try some of the suggestions that you gave. And as you can see, I do have a 32-bit version. I don't think it makes any difference. It still crashed the rig, but I did try that. There were other workarounds and they didn't work, but I do appreciate it. And again, thank you guys.